Okay. Looks like this one is possibly working. Here we
Mark,
go.
did the snow smell? Hi, Mike.
And yes, it is working. We are live on a Tuesday night for Talk Time with TJ, Triple T number 228 coming at you on May 12th, 2026. So glad you guys could join us. What a week, huh? My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with. No, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking lots of questions. I've got a great tribe that I can pick minds from to help people find the solutions that they are looking for. And glad you could join us. For those of you out in YouTube land, I get to say, hi, Mom. Mom's watching up in Minnesota. Yeah. And for the rest of you in YouTube, I really appreciate you showing up and joining us. I do have a favor to ask of all of you. If you would, please do all the YouTube stuff, help the channel out. Check out the videos and everything. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when we're back on the air. Click some likes, leave some comments. I love reading the comments. And share these videos with people. If there's something that you see on there or there's something interesting, I'd appreciate it if you would help others by sharing these. Obviously, I'm not at a, what do they call them, YouTubers that are,
Influencer.
I have not reached influencer status, even close, but so I'm not doing this for the money. I'm just doing it because I enjoy helping others. And when you're done clicking around on YouTube, you can go check out my website at www.thetSWB.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com.
And it now has a new video.
Has a new video on it. There's something you guys can check out. And you'll also find, including on the new video, or in addition to, lots of information on the things that I am blessed to be able to help people with, such as depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief, relationships, corporate coaching. Yeah, I've working with athletes from beginner all the way up to professional level. So if you know somebody that is having some challenges, would like a little help getting through some of those, or they just want some advice on how to improve some stuff, have them give me a call. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's right, no charge to you. 30 minutes of our time to go over some of the goals and challenges that you're dealing with and see if I cannot help you achieve them. If I can't, I promise you I will let you know. And I will then do my best to try and find an associate that can help you where I cannot. What else? Time to introduce a brand new tie. Yeah, and the person that sent it said they don't need me to tell you who I got it from, but oh
That's so
yeah,
cute.
isn't that just TI double gut so new ticker tie. And now it's time for me to hear from you guys. Tell me something good that has happened in the last 7 days. Who's got something to share? Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I went to see the cardiologist today, and I
Ah,
got a gold star for
yay!
everything that was going, that I've been uh, been a challenge to get done. And he was we only had one bone of contention, which more a disagreement on how to analyze. Basically, I told him that the range of a good ejection fraction is from 40 to 70. He goes, no, everybody's 55. Most people are 50. I'm like, okay, doc, you add 40 and 70, and that's 110 divided in half. I couldn't get that. Yes, the average is 55, doc. I get it. That's why I'm telling you. Just because I'm at 40, it means I'm in low average of the range. He says, well, we got to get it up. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm still working on it. It's gotten better every time I've had an echo. He wants to schedule me for an MRI sometime this year of the heart. I think he needs, a new Mercedes or whatever for from the fee. But he says, yeah, we're going to schedule you for an MRI up in Boston. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, you got school tuition for the private school for the kids or whatever, Mercedes payments to make, But yeah, I'll go for it. What the hell? And then they'll be able to tell me even better, more accurately what my EF is. And by then, if the protocol I've been doing works. So that was one piece of good news today. And then the other one, I don't do this really often enough. And you guys all know what I'm talking about, but I was able to spin up a positive emotion. I asked the client, what do you want to feel more of? What do you want to feel less of? He said, happiness. I said, great. What's your happiness now? He said, 8. I said, okay, well, why don't we go for an 11? And we got it all the way up to 11. And yeah, I was like, I've never done it and it's not worked. Well, most of the time, it's the other way. It's, they want to feel a lot less of something, So I find I've done it over 1,000 times. I've done it like maybe 5 for positive emotions. So, and like I said, it's never not worked.
Cool.
Which is the most amazing thing. But yeah, we got it up to around 11. I said, yeah, you get a 2-hour halo. So everything's going to be funny, not frustrating. It'll be amusing, not aggravating. And he kind of walked out a little bemused.
Good.
And I knew the neurology was resetting because he was yawning. He didn't come in yawning. Yep. That's usually a sign that the neurology's rebooting. So yeah, those are my gold stars for today.
Very cool. Week. Who else has got something cool to share? Nobody? Well, I guess no news is good news. I've just had an extremely busy week running a chainsaw. We got 4 acres here, and 2 acres are heavily wooded, so doing some cleanup and finding out that I'm not 18 anymore. Not even 20. But at least I can still get it done, still do it. So there is that. Anybody else before we start the show? And I guess we'll get it going. For those of you that are joining for the very first time or watching the recording for the very first time, the way it works, it's a 2-hour show. The first hour, I do my best to get through 3 topics that I pick for the week. And those of you that have been around for a while know that some weeks we barely get through 1 topic, which is a good thing. And then after the first hour, we switch gears and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a topic or ask a question. And because I like to learn, I let the people on the call answer first. And after everybody's answered, if I feel I still have something to offer, I will throw in my 2 centavos then. What else? little reminder for those of you that are watching the first time, if you see me looking all over the place, that's because I've got a 50-inch monitor, and so I have people over there and 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 over there. We got comments over here. And those of you that are not on here do not get the what you call it, the advantage of seeing the comments. So we'll have to be reading those off. So if you're watching this, join us. The more the merrier. We'd love to have you on the show. But I guess it's time to get it rolling. Tonight's topics are tell me, movies, and the benefits. Tell me. So, raise your hand if you are a very good, very accurate mind reader these days. Anybody? Anybody got that mind reading down, especially with the spouses? You walk in and they've got a look on their face and you know exactly what they're thinking, and they know exactly how your day has been. And as with a good majority of my topics, as you guys know, a good majority of my topics come from my clients. And this one is also from one of my clients. And they realized that, yes, we are still not up to the top gear in mind reading. So you have to ask questions. But as we know, especially those of you that have been around Triple T for a while, the better the question, the better the answer. You also have to get really good at asking the question for the answer you're actually looking for. And some people need to be, shall we say, gently guided towards the answers that would be beneficial to their mood for the day. How many times have we seen somebody that has that look on their face and you go, what's wrong? What happens when we open the door to that room? What's wrong? Oh my gosh, let me tell you. And then, and those that have not been properly, shall we say, trained or experienced will mistake it for something that they may have done. Well, you're always just mad. You're always mad at me. You're always just da 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 da. And they missed the point that they opened the wrong door. That's why I like starting out Triple T with tell me something good that has happened in the last 7 days. You look like you've had a rough day. Tell me something good from the day. Tell me what worked out today. And yes, it can be a challenge. And you'll see them go, yep, but but I don't want your, I'm enjoying this bad mood right now. And how many times have you seen people where my whole day sucked? Your whole day? Your whole day. Well, what happened that your whole day sucked? Well, I went to go get coffee this morning and the coffee maker screwed up and it ruined my whole day. You let a coffee maker ruin your whole day. There's a $5 on every corner. And if there isn't a $5 there, it's one of their competitors. And if there's Mickey D's, you can get coffee. They'll hand it to you, bless you, right through the window. Yeah, but I was in a bad mood. Okay, so you took one little event in the morning and you milked it the rest of the day. And then chose to involve everybody around you in your choice to have a bad day. Or you get those people that have no problem telling you what your shortcomings are. Do we know anybody like that? And sometimes you have to stop them and say, tell me something that I do for you that's good. Tell me something that I've done right today. And the funny part is, pay close attention to their reaction when you say that. Well, why do you have to say it that way? And inside you want to say, the reason I have to say it that way is it's the only way for you to stop and think about, have I done something right? You've got the list of, if I asked you, what have I done wrong lately? That list rattles off like a machine gun. So, Mark.
Well, one of my favorite cognitive distortions is mind reading. My second one is catastrophizing. But and it's, because human beings suck at prediction, and even though it doesn't stop us from trying to predict things, and you see a look on somebody's face and you're like, what's wrong? And then all their they're focused on all the stuff that went wrong that day. Yes. And I can't remember who. I'll defer to Holly if she can remember who said it again. I think it was Irma Bombeck. He said that every day, life is a bowl of 100 marbles. Half are black, half are white, and every day without looking, you have to grab 10. And how many are going to be black tomorrow? How many are going to be white? Well, the trick is to only focus on the white ones instead of the black ones. But most people focus on the black ones, and if again, we're kind of like conditioned to always look at the less than positive things that happen today. But if you retrain yourself to look at only the white marbles, yeah, I'm alive. I have a woman that loves me. I have no idea why. I have grandchildren that adore me. I have no clue why. But there's 3 white ones I can start every day with, and but if you have somebody who is always looking at the black marbles and randomly, because it's the universe, every day, but if somebody's looking for the black marbles, they'll find them. And if they had a day where they had 9 great things happen to them and one less than positive thing, you ask them, how was your day? Yeah, I guess today didn't suck too bad. You know, they had 9 great things happen and only one
Yeah.
less than positive. Which one do they focus on? The black marble.
Yes.
One last little thing, you talk about trying to predict, and I told my wife one time, I said, I know a lot about, the female mind, the female psyche, probably more than most guys. I said, I still haven't figured you out yet. She looked at me, she goes, good. That's my 2
Novelty.
cents.
Keep you on your toes.
That's it.
There are other people that you have to remind them to smile. They have that illustrious RBF. And because we try to keep this somewhat of a family show, we're just going to call it resting bad day face. And you'll see them if something cracks them up or if they come across something that they like, they'll have a great smile. But the majority of the day, they're like, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Why would you think something's wrong? Geez, what a dumb question. Well, maybe if you didn't look like somebody just pooped in your canoe all the time, people wouldn't think that you're always in a bad mood. So again, sometimes we have to take it on ourselves to help point out to the people that there is good around us. And we are human beings, and human beings like to hear that they're doing good. Human beings like to hear that they make a difference. Human beings like to hear that we have at least an IQ above a marble sometimes. Human beings like to hear that this project that we did was worthy of doing. But human beings dealing with human beings in their natural environment, sometimes we have to ask them to tell us. Instead of mind reading and thinking, well, they just never notice, or they just don't like it, or blah, blah, blah. Lenora.
I found this topic very hilarious today. So I really have been noticing a lot of loops in my own self, my own looping thoughts, and working to shift them. And in doing my own work, the people around me are also shifting, which is really exciting. And of the many things that I talked about this weekend with my husband, today we were talking, and it was like he came down like 2 hours or an hour after he was already at work, and I could see the shift in his eyes. Like I knew the look, and I knew you could just see that I was going to be the target of the thing that he was stewing in. And I had called him out on it. And I had said something along the lines of like, I see where you are. I'm walking away. Have a good rest of your morning. Stay well. And he then proceeded to follow me. So then we ended up having probably like a 5 or 10 minute discussion as to the loop that he was in. And I had said, especially after the last couple of weeks with the things that we've been going through with our puppy, I said, you and I both really need to stay grounded, and we also need to really call each other out when the other one is escalating. And he had agreed. And I had said to him, even in the middle of the disagreement, I said, I told you I was going to call you out. I'm calling you out. This is what you're doing right now. I am watching it in real time. And sure enough, he started to back down a little bit. And then he went on to his meeting. A couple hours later, he came down and like, I have a curtain in the stairwell where like we use it to stop air, and he pops his head through the curtain. He's like, is it safe to come back out now? Because he was able to see the loop that he was in. So all that to say, for as much as I feel like I have definitely grown over the last number of years, and I'm very, very proud of that, there were still plenty of time where when he would get upset, I would start to jump in and like, oh my God, I have to fix it. I have to make it better. I have to get him back to a better place. And even though my adult self could say like, it's not your responsibility. It's okay. This is not for you to fix. Onset of a very long loop. And I would still take it on personally, and it would impact my entire day. And then even over the last couple of weeks, really noticing the loops, and very specifically the loop of like thought, emotional response. I'm active. My behavior is to go fix it or to move away from the thing. And so I'm trying to catch it in the activated state. And it was just very, very helpful. So now, sorry, trying to not lose my train of thought. I noticed, oh, I can easily get activated here. I have to stay grounded. And I think that is something that people who love to help people have to help themselves first and drop that boundary that says, see what you're seeing, stay very, very present. Don't get pulled into like, well, last week, this, really come down, stay present and focus on the topic. And also, it's, I think a lot of things from NLP, what's the outcome? I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to be the target. I don't want this energy. It's for you. Enjoy, have fun. And that I felt was really, really helpful. So when you're with significant other people in your life and you're wanting to help, recognize that you are activated, period. Whether you are in your people pleaser mode, whether you are trying to help, whether you are doing such and such, do your best to ground down into yourself, be the observer, and also breathe and pause and recognize this is on them. I don't have to jump in and save them, even though I really want to. I don't have to. And that to me was such a pivotal point, to the point that I was so excited. I almost texted one of my coaches about it. And then I was just like, okay, let me recover, because I could tell like I was heightened over it. And I'm like, let me just recover, just listen to some music and move on with your day. So, and I didn't want to like feed off of the energy of being like, yay, caught a loop. So I feel better telling you all now, because now I'm not so activated about it. So yay, a win. But yes, stay grounded when you're trying to help people, as in notice if your people pleaser is coming up. Notice if you're really wanting to come in and save them. What else is going on with you? And it's not bad. It's not a flaw in you at all. I say this catching myself like megally one time today in the loops that I've been in. So trust me, there's no crown and I did not get an award. It's just something that I'm trying to raise my awareness of. And I think that was a huge piece that said like, hey, this isn't your responsibility. Now pay attention, because you're about to get a test, Lenora, and make sure you move swiftly and quickly through it.
So much good stuff in there.
It's a very long story.
No, but you're absolutely right that it's so easy to get caught up in reactions, positive, negative energies, all the above, and lose your place. Holly.
So a couple things I'm thinking. So first of all, I think it is important too to remember that there is a balance on this, and so you can go to the point where what's it called? The happiness advantage. Sean Acor talks about the Lesotho line, which is where you want to make sure you're having, that 7-to-1 minimum positive to negative ratio.
Mhm.
So, but that doesn't mean it's got to be 7-0. And there's always, we talked about, Guy Winch, gosh, what's the name of his book? Anyway, the point is that when you do have something that you need to process, you don't have to get to the point where you're like, I'm never allowed to talk about something hard. I'm never allowed to talk about something,
Yes.
So there's, the question is, am I currently processing? Am I currently problem solving? Or am I currently ruminating? And if you're ruminating, it's time to change. But if you're processing, I don't know why, but one of my favorite movies is Amazing Grace, and I just keep thinking of he's self-censoring, and there's a scene where they're trying to fight, where he's with this girl, and they're trying to find something to fight about, and what they end up fighting about is he says he kind of gets really passionate about something, and he says, "See, this is why I shouldn't talk about it," and she says, I think you should. When you have something poisonous, you don't keep swallowing it back; you spit it out.
Yep.
And so once again, ruminating, you probably are saying it to swallow it back in, but processing is still healthy. Processing is still good. Also, 3 of my favorite letters that I like to say a lot, I've probably shared this before, but NMP. And it could stand for 2 things. It could stand for not my problem, and it can also stand for not my place. And often it means both. And I'm learning that, I think I said this a million times before, but if someone's not ready for help and you try to insert yourself and you think you're helping, even if you help them with the thing they're working on, you will end up breaking something else. And so, like for instance, if you're dealing with somebody's financial problem, you may, find a way for them to pay off their credit cards, but they haven't learned financial, mastery, financial discipline. They'll find some other way to get themselves right back into debt again.
Yep.
And there's a million examples like that. So learning that, the best thing you could possibly do is wait until you're invited in. Sometimes you will be invited in. Make sure you're not just invited in with words, but also with energy, because sometimes people will say it, but you can tell they don't mean it. And it's a beautiful thing, when somebody invites you in and when you invite somebody else in when it's right. But the rest of the time, the most beautiful thing you can give somebody else is respected space so that they can work through their stuff in their own time and have the privilege of choosing when to invite you in and when not to invite you in. So it's hard to let go, but NMP, it's my motto. I find myself saying it a lot, and it really helps.
Good stuff, as always. Thank you for showing up. Mark.
Real quick, the numbers that I have is it's 10 positive comments to offset 1 negative comment, and some bright bean somewhere said that between age 0 and 18 that kids get a minimum of 160,000 negative comments from parents, from school teachers, from friends.
Yeah.
So if that number is correct, just to get a kid back to 0 in terms of self-esteem, self-worth, self-image, you got to give them 1.6 million positive comments. That's your role as a parent. And if you want them to have a great self-esteem, a great self-image, a great self-worth, you got to double that. That's 3.2 million positive comments.
Yeah.
If you want your kids to have that kind of, that kind of life. So that's my 2 cents.
That's worth a lot more than 2 cents, my friend. Lenora.
So I sadly missed all of you last week, and I obsessively listened to your Triple T the next morning at 4 a.m. while I was hanging out on the treadmill. Loved it. Had like 45 million notes. Couldn't write fast enough. Holly, I love that you just pointed out the word respect, because last week you had said people have their own different definitions of respect. And I was like, oh my God, just completely right. It was completely on point. Mark, loved your story about money, and I loved both of your stories, Childers, about proposing to your wives. I thought that was super awesome. Holly pointed out about being a substitute. and how to set those lines clearly first. And Mark loved your sister's story about the teacher and then, or about doing homework and then her being like the teacher that everybody wanted. Guys, like I had so many notes, I really couldn't write fast enough. Absolutely loved it. And when Holly said the word respect, that's what I wanted to come back to, and I didn't want to forget. Think I had caffeine today?
Not enough.
Well, we don't have to wonder if you actually watched the video. And we thank you for that big time. Any other inputs, ahas, epiphanies on tell me? Tell me if you have any more. Tell me what you like about this. Yes, my hair is slicked back. Because it's I haven't had a haircut for a while, and it's right at that homeless stage. I've sent a few people yesterday when I finished working out in the woods, and it was warm and windy. Oh yeah, I had a haircut that looked somewhere between a Teletubby and Bozo the Clown. Just say it.
A Teletubby. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Holly, I loved what you pointed out, and you always say this word, and I can't believe whenever I hear you say it, it pulls up the what is it? Like Dewey Decimal Card System catalog that I have in my head when you've said the word ruminating. Love when you say that, because I definitely agree that there is a difference between ruminating, and usually I think and please, by all means, I'm open to people's thoughts. I think ruminating is when somebody is very specifically complaining about something, and then somebody else jumps in to continue the complaint about whatever it is that they're talking about, and that it spirals worse. Whereas I feel like processing is, you might talk about it and you might go in emotional waves about it, but there's somebody who's listening, who's trying to not make it worse and just be listening or be a gentle guide as you're working through that emotional processing piece, of which I also very much agree that things have to be felt. Because the more we try and disconnect, the more we try and stuff them down, or like, no, I don't feel that way. No, I don't feel that way. I think the worse it gets, and it definitely stacks on top of itself. So you absolutely have to find a way to feel through the emotion. And that, I think, is one of the best ways, and also, oddly enough, one of the fastest ways to get it out of your nervous system. There was something else, but a squirrel ran away with it.
Yes, our famous squirrels, for those of you that are watching for the first time, we have squirrels where it's squirrel. And sometimes the squirrels bring us ideas, and we are being polite, and we can't just blurt them out. And by the time we get our opportunity to bring them forward, the squirrel has run away. And my squirrels know squirrels who have squirrels that bring squirrels who are related to squirrels that show up. So if you listen to some of it, oh, puppy, squirrel, not a squirrel, puppy.
Don't show a squirrel, puppy will go bananas.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I also had a squirrel, one of my squirrels, bring up something I was going to bring up, and it ran away with it when it saw the puppy. It went, ah, puppy! Oh, the body keeps the score. One more reason why we have to learn how to communicate positive stuff. We can process stuff, but the ruminating, the holding on to it, the getting in the group of the woe is me, negative Nancy complainers can actually be detrimental to your health. Prove it. Proven. And so that's one more reason to reframe, rewire the way that you want to have conversations with people around you. Tell me something good. Tell me something good about your day. Mark put it in the comments. Great family topic at supper. Tell me something good that happened at school today. Tell me something good that happened at work today. If you had something that happened that made you mad, that's fine. Tell me. But then I also want to hear something good, something that worked out. Mark.
Yeah, often when a client comes in, and then usually it's relationship stuff, I'll be like, okay, tell me 3 things you did this week that helped build your relationship.
Yes.
And boy, the look on their face is like, ah.
Yeah, I took out the garbage.
I usually get 1, but boy, very few people come up with 3 ways they, made their relationship better.
Yeah.
It's just not what we focus on.
And before I forget, somebody on the call had a birthday also recently. So happy birthday, Mo. Glad you're here. Appreciate you, brother. Any other birthdays that I didn't know about? Because Lenora missed us being able to wish her happy birthday. She had to watch it on the replay.
Thank you.
And we'll all wish her happy birthday again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still working, so.
Yeah, I get it. You're over on the East Coast or West Coast, so it's still working hours, working time there.
Yep.
And wow, we're already down to 17 minis to do 2 more topics. Any more input on Tell Me, or should we move into movies? Movies. Oh, this one actually came from actually watching a movie Sunday night. And how many of you have watched a movie and even if it's really good, this one was okay, but the ending comes and you're like, that was it? That they invested all this time writing this great movie and putting in all this acting and everything, and they ran out of horsepower for the finish? Like, for real? And it brought to mind how we can build certain expectations about how things are going to go.
No.
I mean, it's the first time you've watched the movie. You don't know what the ending's going to be, and you're like, oh, yes, this is going pretty good. This is pretty interesting. Da, da, da. That's the end? That's it? For real? And
Now
all
I'm
of a
curious, what did you
sudden,
watch?
huh?
What did you watch?
It's a Charles Bronson movie from 1971 called Red Sun.
No.
You needed to watch Hallmark.
You need to watch Have Fun and Don't Die, Good luck, have fun,
See?
don't die.
Look at you guys. All of a sudden you're like, yes, but there are better movies. But the funny thing is, we're all writing our own movies. And we have just as much drama and comedy and whatever we write into it. And if we had the ability to write the ending, would our ending be something that people watch and go, Really? That was it? That was the ending they chose? And it wasn't that it was a bad movie, but it was interesting that it was good enough to keep the attention. The ending soured the rest of the movie. How many relationships have I seen people have where it was going well until the end, and then you ask them, and it was a sucky relationship. You're like, you stayed in a relationship for how long? You stayed in a sucky relationship for how long? Or was it just the ending that pretty much sucked? And jobs. How many people stay in a job, but because they got laid off or something, oh, it's a sucky place to work. I hated that. Rah, 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 rah. Well, what were your expectations? At what point did the expectations take a nosedive? What can we do to change our view on the entirety of the experience instead of letting that last little segment taint the whole thing? It's like going to a restaurant and having a great meal, and then the last bite of the dessert is bad. Now, of course, if we were able to future read, if we were able to know it was coming, we could either prepare ourselves for it, if the only way through is through, or we could avoid it altogether. But that was the caveat of the movie for me, was when I think back, it was all right. It had its moments. It had its novelty. It had its unpredictability in some points. And then it's just like the movie ran out of steam and it's over. Michael.
I liked how you threw it in, that we are writing our own movies.
Yeah.
And we are. I mean, if you look at it like we all pretty much on this call do, we are spiritual beings and living in a physical world, and we're kind of watching and living the life, and we know that it's all going to work out in the end. And if it's not working out yet, it's not the end.
Yeah.
And then when we go into, like, for example, some of the things that you're a master at is going in and reprogramming a past memory, looking at it a different way, talking to your younger self that's going through the situation and letting that younger self know that it's going to work out and this is where you are now. I mean, there's so many cool things you can do when we start looking at it differently.
Very much so. A lot of my clients, if they have complaints about how they were raised, and when we go in and I allow them to take the time to look at the whole timeline and change the colors so that they can see differences, how much of it was actually bad, how much of it was neutral, and how much of it was actually good. What were they focusing on? Well, they got to the end of being with the parents, and it didn't end so well, so they looked back, and everything that was bad about living with the parents is what they focused on. And I said, well, the time has passed. You can't go back and redo it, but you can decide what you want to remember of it in lieu of the fact that you cannot go back and redo it. Change the ending. Because you haven't reached the end yet. You're still alive. You can decide, my parents were who they were. They did the best they could. I kind of know how they grew up, but I don't know exactly how they grew up. I kind of know some of the stuff they went through, but I have no idea what they went through. I kind of know what it was like to raise me as a kid, but I don't know what it was like to have me as a kid. By the way, love you, Mom. Sorry for all the lessons I put us through. And I think it's even funnier when some of the clients and friends and stuff that I've known along the way, hearing them complain about their childhood, and then guess what happens? Bada bing, bada bing, they become parents. And just like their parents, all of a sudden their parents get a call. How did you do this? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna kill him. And the parents are like, yeah, that happens. You just gotta have some patience. That's how you survived. Just saying. Holly.
I'm loving this idea of, the creating our life movie. I'd never really thought about it before, but a lot of the techniques that work for good writing also work for good life planning and life understanding. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Brandon Sanderson. If you're interested in creative writing, he's got a free class that he teaches that he's posted online a couple different times. But one of the things he talks a lot about is the idea of writers who are gardeners and writers who are architects. Architects plan all of the plot points in advance. They know exactly where they're going. They know what this beautiful payoff's going to be at the end. Gardeners live in the moment, and they just write wherever their writing takes them. And the key is, if you want to be a good writer, you really need to mix both of them together. Because the architects, they have great payoffs, but it can get very boring between point A and point B. And the gardeners can have amazing things that happen between point A and point B, but once you actually get to the payoff, it's like, what? That didn't pay off. But when you're in your life, it's good to have things you're working towards. And but it's also good to be able to enjoy the moments in between, to enjoy the journey. And so if you're on either one, if you just only have the journey, but you don't actually have anywhere you're going, that might be fun in moments, but it could also, you may end up somewhere you didn't want to go. You never know. But if you have a general area where you want to go and you're so focused on the destination, you may not enjoy the journey. But another thing that is good writing is the concept of kill your darlings. So you might have this moment that you thought was just so important to your plot line, but once you actually get to writing your book, it's slowing the journey down. It's taking you the wrong place. And so it's okay to say, hey, this is where I think I'm going, but once I get writing, if it's not the right place to go, I don't have to be so tied into that I can't pivot, that I can't change where I'm going and find somewhere even better to go. It's just like I said. And then the other thing is, for those who are familiar with, Star Wars, the original trilogy, most people's favorite movie in the trilogy is the middle movie, The Empire Strikes Back. And if you haven't seen it, this may not make sense, but hopefully most people have seen it. But Can you imagine if only The Empire Strikes Back came out and you never got to see the first movie and you never got to see the third movie? It would be so confusing because you'd have no idea what was even going on for the first bit because they've already introduced all the characters in the first movie. But it would also be very unsatisfying at the end because you don't really get the payoff. You don't really get to complete the journey. And so oftentimes in our lives, we are in The Empire Strikes Back, and we may not be properly remembering the first phase. And we may also not know where we're going. But it might actually be the best movie of all. It might actually be, when we see it in context, the part that's going to be the best. Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is great. But I'm definitely an Empire Strikes Back person. But, just because, if you look at your life as an unfolding movie of, this is the interesting part. And who was it that said earlier, we know it's all going to turn out, and if it's great, and if it's not there yet, then the journey's not over. That's such a great way of looking at it. And just remember also, too, as TJ was saying, you may not even remember the beginning part perfectly either. And that's okay, too. You could go back and change it to be whatever you want it to be so that it fits where you're at right now.
And what one of my scrolls just popped up was, what would you change if you found out that you are currently writing the last chapter? But then, how would you extend it if you realized that it was written like Star Wars, and all of a sudden here we are, and you're actually in the middle of the movie? I know some people that, because of their age, they're all focused on writing the ending of the movie and winding down and all of this. And I also know other people that they're like, are you kidding me? Just because I'm 80 doesn't mean that I'm in the final chapter. I'm just getting rolling. It's a mindset. You see some of those movies. Who's seen a movie that it was full throttle all the way to the end? I mean, wasn't it Thelma and Louise? How'd they end it? Big cliff, parajumping they forgot the parachute. Didn't see that plot twist left turn. Mark.
Yeah, something that Holly said, again, it's not a movie, but Wayne Dyer used to, he would create a book jacket of how he wanted the book to look like, but if he'd get it from the publisher, and it would be an entirely blank book, and he would look at the book cover and imagine what he wanted to write in, what kind of things he wanted to communicate. And he basically said once he had the book jacket, the book wrote itself. That was one thing that popped up. Something you said, TJ, reminded me of a skit by Robin Williams, and he was with his dad and his son, and his dad was just there. He wasn't trying to give any advice to Robin how to raise his son, and his son looked up with that kind of look in his eyes, and he was like, "Screw you, Daddy." And he said, "My father was behind me," and he was like, "Yes, I am revenged." Because he had he said, "Oh yeah, you know everything about parenting, huh? Well, guess what? That's kind of what you used to tell me." So yes, Dad was finally, it took him a long time, but he was revenged. He got it's not, but like I said, as far as writing any chapter, like I said, you edit the chapters even after, or the movie, even after it's not even half done.
Yes.
You rewrite stuff that maybe never happened except in your imagination. So
Okay, I got a question. Other than me, who has already written their obituary? Good. It's worth doing. Write it out, and you can write a bunch of different versions. And I've got little parts in there where obviously the date's not in there, and the correct date is not in there. It'd be nice because in my obituary I'm 98 when I finally fell asleep. But write the other stuff of what your life was. Who knows the story behind the Pulitzer Peace Prize? And I know that we're in the second hour, so I'll make this quick. But yeah, Pulitzer designed better uses for dynamite and weapons. And in his mind, he designed the war weapons so that wars wouldn't last as long, so they could get them over quicker without killing as many people. Well, when his brother passed away, the newspaper mistook his brother for him. And the headlines were I think it was like Dr. Death finally dies. And he read this and realized that they were like, he goes, that's what they think of me? And so he decided this is not how my story ends. I am not going to be known as Dr. Death. And so he pushed for peace, and that's where the Pulitzer Peace Prize came from. Oh yes, Greg, you're right. Long wordy obituaries can be very expensive when posting in the newspaper. I know. And they, with as sensitive as people are these days, it's one thing that families fight over at a level that you wouldn't even imagine. That's why it's good to have them pre-written, pre-thought out, so you can have them condensed and informative and all that good stuff, and let the rest of the fam know, hey, it's done. This is what it looks like. Here's the picture that you're going to use. But we are in your hour now, which for those of you that are joining us for the first time or watching for the very first time, this is where we change things up. It's now time for open mic, open platform, and anybody on the call can bring up a topic or a question, and I let the people on the call answer first so that I can learn. So, who's got a question or a topic to start off the second hour?
I'm going to bring up Return of the Jedi versus Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So
Been
Empire
burning
Strikes
inside him
Back,
for 10 minutes already.
Empire Strikes Back was a good show. It showed a young Luke who thought he knew everything and left training early to go rescue his friends, only to lose his hand. He also makes his way back into the Return of the Jedi, and in Return of the Jedi, Yoda explains to him how training really works. He says, "Pick up the ship." "I can't. I'll try." He says, "Well, no, you'll do or do not. There is no try." And then as it progresses, he learns the Force more. He goes and he fights Darth Vader and takes his hand. And the Emperor says, "Strike him down." And this is what happened in Star Trek or Star Wars 2 or 3 when Anakin converted over. He took the Dooku's arms, so he couldn't fight anymore, and he took him, and that's when he went over to the dark side. And so in Return of the Jedi, when Luke chose not to take his hands, that was a sign for Anakin to come back. And it came in, and he ended up killing the Emperor and not putting that burden on his son. And that's why his spirit came back at the very end, because his goodness was redeemed. Return of the Jedi is a better movie. There we go.
Has spoken.
And how can we use that in helping others today?
Several ways. First of all, there is no try. We either do or we do not. And when Yoda lifted the X-Wing fighter out of the mud for Luke, he says, wow, I couldn't, I can't believe you did that. And he says, that's the problem. You didn't believe. So we need to believe and write our movies. And if we don't like the ending, we rewrite it until we get the ending we want.
Any comments, epiphanies on that from anybody? Lenora.
I was making sure I came off mute. Love that, Michael. Loved it. And yes, absolutely. Do or do not. There is no try. Hilariously, depending on the mood, Gary will call me Yoda. Very funny. So when writing the movies, and I think this is something that I've definitely noticed more so. So I'm sharing with you all about a little bit about the thought process of loops. So loops, to me, yes, we have habits of thought. We have loops that we also get stuck in. So they're thoughts that we think on the regular. And we then have, very specifically, we have a thought, it gets activated in our nervous system. So there might be something where it's like up, and our brain will start to work to get away from it because we're feeling discomfort. And it goes so quickly in this sequence that we don't really know how to stop it. So one of the things that I've been playing with very much so is what in that activation state, when I feel activated, I truly go in and say like, okay, what am I noticing it? Where is it? And I know a lot of the times we've learned, okay, well, figure out some of the other characteristics of it. Is it talking? Who's talking? Or what do they want it to say? And what I've really started to do is go even more back to the basics of what's the color? What's it feel like? What is it doing? And just observing it and saying quite literally, I can stay in this uncomfortably activated state and just staying there. And as I stay there, it actually starts to move. So wanted to share the reason that I thought about this was because we'll so quickly say it's your mindset, and the mind and the body are connected. So Brent might call it like the body mind. He often says that, or the heart mind connection. But really, your mind is your entire body. So when we notice that activation, to really take the time, and you're welcome to reach out to anybody on this call, or when you're noticing this activation, rather than running away from it, such as you'll think a thought like, oh, this is possible. And then you say, what if it doesn't happen? Like that's still one, depending on the topic, that will pop up. And you can feel this, at least to me in my body, it feels like urgency and pressure. Like I have to figure this out now. Like it has to be solved right now. And that's the activated state. And what I do is I actually go back like, okay, where is this? What else is going on inside my body? Because when we think these great thoughts of, yes, I am the director. Yes, I can create so many things, especially with the way that the language is. Sometimes it can be really grounded. Sometimes it can be very neurological, scientifical over here. Sometimes it can be very abstract, higher thinking, just a whole lot. And all the vocabulary is all over the place. So for me, what I've really started to do is find the common threads and really ground in it. And it's morphing into another book, possibly another program. So that's ultimately like I'm using myself as the guinea pig. And when we're talking about this language, like, yes, I acknowledge that I have the ability to think thoughts. I have acknowledge the ability that I can create things. I acknowledge the ability that I have experienced a number of things. And I acknowledge that in the excitement of it, my nervous system is spiking and I'm also causing pressure and urgency, stressing the whole situation, and then not being able to take those steps forward. That's where the work is. And if we can stop and really find ways to calm down the nervous system and come back to that stable state, as in recognize that when you're noticing that urgency, you don't have to do anything, but stay. Stay in it and you'll watch it morph. And as you do, amazingly, and I know I've experienced this myself, especially with TJ walking me through so many things, Holly walking me through so many things, but really finding ways to hold yourself in that stay and then move forward. Then I'm telling you, the things that have shifted over the last number of weeks, holy bananas. So yes, we are truly part of the experience of being the director and being the participant and being the writer. And when you notice that spike of, what if it doesn't happen? Or, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, that's where the work is to go before you continue writing. Those are my thoughts.
Great stuff. Holly.
Loving this conversation. It's every week, I swear, it's what I need. You guys, I swear, are just in my head all week and figuring out what I need. But as far as, like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I'm loving the particular scenes that were mentioned. I mean, I think every movie has its merits and, whatever, but I'm also realizing it's maybe because I'm a Scorpio, I like messes and I like to see incomplete people and see people failing and getting back up again. And anyway, but one thing I have to say about Return of the Jedi that I absolutely loved was, I think the first time I watched it, I was imagining he's training to be so powerful. The Force is so powerful. It's going to be all about, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to show how strong I am. And I absolutely love that the moment that it matters the most is compassion. Because it wasn't about brute force. It was about compassion. But also, like when you were talking about, you do not believe and that is why you fail. I was just thinking about how true that is for when we do, for example, sessions over Zoom. How many people say, oh, because it's a distance, I can't get rapport as well.
Yes.
I can't do as good of work. And it's like, oh, but I have access to other tools that I didn't have before. Zoom could be more powerful than in person. There's nothing that says, what we imagine is the bigger problem, that the bigger versus smaller is often an illusion. And we're just making it up, Do I have to, I come up with a rule. I can only impact you if I can see you. You could ask TJ about helping people when he's driving 70 miles per hour on the freeway. You don't have to be still. You don't have to be focused just on that one thing. You don't have to be physically present. There are so many things that we've got these limiting beliefs of how we can work. And if we would just believe, it's the lack of believing what we can do that causes the failure. But I kind of like that contrast of those two scenes because I think it's the exact same thing of, now to be fair, I had this image of my mind of what Anakin would be long before the prequels came out. But, with Darth Vader, I kind of see this person who thinks that they've traded their life they've sold their soul, they've traded their life to the dark side of the Force. And it wasn't true. He just needed a big enough why to break free and do the right thing. He didn't have to be that person. He's not controlled by his past. It doesn't mean it's easy necessarily. But if you get the right reason, and it's more about the reason than it is the strategy, although strategy can help, you could tap into that version of yourself. You could become the person that, ends up being the hero. But yeah, so I just thought that those were both such, such perfect scenes to compare and contrast, because in a way, those are also, they both have the same theme of you are capable of so much more than you realize. You just need to be out there fighting the fight. And when your feet are to the fire, you have no idea what you could tap into, especially if you don't limit yourself by what you think is possible.
Wow. That's why I love letting you guys run with this stuff. Any other input, ahas, epiphanies? Crickets. Elijah.
Yo,
Yo.
the problem is never the problem. The problem is how someone is currently going about trying to solve the problem. Because we have a tendency to become rigid in what we want. Like, I want to make $1 million and it must happen this way.
Yes.
Why must it happen that way? Why are you not open to $1 million coming to you in any other different way? Right? So when it comes to all sorts of, like, I don't really have too much context of what you guys were talking about. I heard some stuff about Darth Vader, right? And, you know, his problem was not that whatever his problem was, if you've seen the movies, you know, right? His real problem was the way he was trying to fix it, right? So the problem is never the problem. It's always the way they are currently, and I will emphasize currently, trying to fix the problem. And sometimes it's about just allowing or holding enough space to get the other person to kind of shift their perspective a little bit, loosen up a little bit, and before you know it, the solution will come to them. That's about it.
Yes. No. Awesome. And I got to throw my 2 centavos in quick. It's amazing how we have so much entertainment, all these movies and storybooks and novels and everything that have so many obscure lessons hidden inside of them. Even Mr. Duncan's got a very interesting character on his shirt. And who might that be?
That's the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter.
Yes, we are all mad here.
Out of a story with so many hidden lessons and references inside of it. And you look at some of them, and some people were willing to learn and change. Some were very stubborn and very much against change, and some had to learn the hard way.
Yep.
And Mark put in the comments, it's not about resources, it's about being resourceful enough, yes, and recognizing them as such. You know, how many times have we heard that you can't be a prophet in your own land, and people are like, until you've got kids or somebody that you've said the same thing to 2,700 times, and all of a sudden they come home. Oh my gosh, you know what I just heard? Blah, 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 blah. I've been saying that exact same thing to you for 15 years. No, you haven't. Yeah. Say it again, but say it in my voice. And all of a sudden they're like, what? They just said it different. Well, you repeated it the same way I told you. You just weren't ready to hear it. And I wasn't the right person to tell you, even though I told you 100 times. Any comments on that?
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes, and I actually wrote this down as lessons from Star Wars. Lenora put in, you want to read your comment?
Also, as Mark had put, it's not about resources, it's about being resourceful enough. And I said, what kind of resources do people have? Like, I think paying attention to how we define our vocabulary, how we define what things are, is so important. And I think about language all day long because my brain will go back and forth like, you didn't work hard enough. This is too hard. No, you could have suffered more. So even getting stuck in a critical loop, like an inner critic loop, you even have to drill down and say, okay, well, A, who's talking, or B, how are we defining hard work? And my brain will go very quickly to, well, you're not working as hard as a Navy SEAL in boot camp. Like, that's the argument that I'm having in my head. And it's like, okay, well, that's a bit of an extreme situation, don't you think, Lenora? So in this case, what kind of resources do people have? What do people consider resources? And also, how well they learned them, how well they implemented them and even embodied them. You know, like I used to fully expect, despite being told, don't throw the ugliest thing at this technique, or, you know, stick with it. There's a learning process. I was in my head going, this should work. This should work. Why isn't this working? Something's wrong. And I would right out the window. So it really is a willingness to learn resources, but learn from people who are resourceful already that can say, here's a great thing to try. Let me walk with you through this. Because I think somebody, especially walking through things with very trusted people. I mean, I've been on many a phone call with TJ, with Elijah. He's walked me through a number of processes over the years, and really sitting in the suck and learning how to be resourceful and recognizing, then taking a step back going, okay, this is a great tool. This is how you now can be resourceful. This is when to implement them. You know, I think especially with this very quick technology that we now have, our attention span has become even shorter, and people will say things on a reel, and it can be helpful. It can like start the spark, but it really is up to the individual to keep it going and to say, okay, well, let me look into this. Let me dig a little bit deeper. Is a breathing technique helpful for me? Is movement helpful for me? So those are, when I hear things like, it's not about the resources, it's about being resourceful enough, and recognizing also we absolutely are completely resourceful, and recognizing that leaning on other people is also being resourceful, because you're not here alone. You're supposed to learn from other people.
Awesome. Holly.
I love that. It also brought up this memory from my Excel class days. I guess it was technically Microsoft Office, but he talked about, anyway, I guess there's two limiting beliefs a lot of people have. One is that we have to earn all results, and how hard we work determines the kind of results that we deserve. Notice I said deserve, not get. So even if you get something amazing, sometimes we're like, I didn't work hard enough, so I don't deserve that. I'm not going to take it. But also, how hard we work is equal to our worth. And our office teacher used to have this saying. He says, you know, you could either do a little extra work up front and do this the easy way, Or you could do this the hard way and do a ton more work. And he says, I'm not going to judge you. As long as you get the result, it's up to you how you want to do it. But my goal, if there's ever an easy way and a hard way to get the exact same result, my goal is to choose the easy way whenever I can. And so let me show you how to get the easy way. And that's stuck with me for a long time, because I definitely am one of those people who buys into the idea that, I can't take this good thing, I didn't earn it. Or if I stop trying so hard, if I stop working so hard, my worth goes down. And, this also comes up in a lot of the astrology that I've been studying, is sometimes the idea is you may go through phases of your life where you can't work if you get to the point where you define your worth as work, because the universe has to show you, you know what? Your worth goes beyond what you do. So we're going to take away what you could do so that you can learn that. And it's a very rough lesson for a lot of people to learn. And I mean, I'm definitely at the top of that list of people who need to learn it. So by the way, I'm not criticizing the value of work. I think it's important, when it's the right time to work, definitely work. But ask yourself, is there anything that I have denied myself because I didn't think I worked hard enough to earn it?
Yes.
Or has there ever been a phase of my life where I thought, because I maybe couldn't work because I was sick, or I couldn't work because I was recovering from surgery, or whatever it may be, was there any part of you saying, hey, my worth as a human being has been taken away right now, not realizing that your worth as a human being goes far beyond your ability to do hard work?
Yes, exactly. Well said. And one of the little quotes that I always went with was, join the work smarter, not harder club. Get the same amount done without working it the hard way. Lenora.
Two things. I have a question from somebody who is not here tonight, so I want to put a pin in it so that we don't forget.
Yep.
And coming back to what Holly was just sharing, especially when we can get wrapped up in terms like worthiness and deserving. And I think that they've definitely been used against us, like you're not enough, or you're not worthy, you're not deserving. I listened to a podcast recently by Chase Hughes and actually watched the whole thing, the whole hour and 48 minutes, which was it was very, very good. And I usually don't get the whole chunk. I usually get clips. And he said a number of things on there, which I thought were absolutely excellent. One of them was that he doesn't subscribe to one thing. And I thought that was really interesting because it goes along with the idea that I've thought of for many years. It's a buffet. Enjoy, try some of this, try some of that, look into this, look into that. And I like the idea of that you don't subscribe to one thing because it leaves you open for many things. And the other thing I thought, or the other thing he said, which really stood out to me is, he goes, I'm not special. No one is. And that was really, I think, absolutely powerful, because you really get to, you're taught like, this person's better than you, this person's not as good, da, 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 da. And when you recognize, oh, Lenora, you're not special. We're all on the same playing field. It really, really massively shifted a lot of things, because I can easily go into a loop of like, oh, I have to get on this meeting and I have to stop. Nope. You're not special, Lenora. Nobody is. And it just deflates so much of that urgency and that pressure and that buildup. Wow. That was quite helpful. Thank you very much for sharing that on a podcast.
Yep. More good stuff. Who else has something to add to this or share? Any other comments, epiphanies, ahas? I had about 7 squirrels run up with stuff and they all disappeared. I think part of it can be, if we go back to the theme of movies, which seems to be a good theme tonight, are you watching or are you watching and learning? I know a lot of people that watch movies and binge watch movies and never really get the lessons that are hidden inside of it, the messages. That to them it's just entertainment. It's just a way to uh, let let time go by, consume time, whatever. And there's some really good movies out there. Pixar was putting out some amazing uh, movies with lessons put in it. Anybody here remember A Bug's Life? What a great movie about something so small being able to band together and change their life and not have to put up with stuff. And just like we've talked about with the lessons that were inside of Star Wars. But I think a lot of people live their life the way they watch movies. They're just watching it. It's going to happen. And because they don't know what's going to happen, they're just along for the ride. And at the end of the day, the movie ends and like, wow, that was a sucky ending. This episode wasn't that good. Well, what did you do to change it? What did you add to the day? How did you self-direct the day to be better? How easily did you let outside sources affect your day? You do have control. Yes, there are things called accidents. Yes, there are certain things that you weren't expecting. That's plot twist left turn. But how did you deal with it? And did you take the time to analyze what lessons may have been hidden inside of it? Or did you lump the whole thing into, that sucked? If you do the kind of work that we do, we know that there's a whole lot of people that are floating down the river of life in an inner tube, and they're not paddling at all. They're just letting it take them wherever it goes. And then there are people that decided they didn't want the inner tube anymore, and they got themselves a canoe. Built themselves some paddles, and they decided to go exploring. Holly.
I was just thinking about a couple other writing techniques that we could apply to life. First of all, they say good writing is when you show, don't tell. And so ask yourself, in my life, do I show or do I tell? And then the other one is one of the ways to accidentally slip into really bad writing is when you start engaging in preaching to the choir. And so in your life, are you constantly preaching to the choir, or are you actually looking to get voices that might actually give you real feedback, might actually give you real different viewpoints? Once again, still, that doesn't necessarily mean listen to just anybody, anytime, for any reason. But, do you purposely live in an echo chamber where you're constantly preaching to the choir? Or do you actually put yourself in a situation where you can actually deal with difficult, nuanced concepts and learn something from it?
Yes. Again, I'm so glad you showed up here. Mark.
Well, I had about 12 squirrels run through, and I most of them got away, but I caught 3 of them. First of all, again, I know for a fact, Lenora, that you are pretty special, and when you weren't here last week, there was something missing. So, that makes you pretty special.
Yep.
The second one thing that TJ was saying, some people can read War and Peace and experience it only as a simple adventure. Others can read the back of the cartoon in a piece of bubble gum and unlock the secrets of the universe. So, sometimes it's it's what you bring to the situation, and you never know what's going to work in our business for one particular individual mind. So I tell people I throw a lot of stuff against the wall, in terms of technique, mindset, skill sets, because I don't know what's going to stick for one person, but, I figure the more I throw against the wall, the more something's going to stick, and have value in their lives moving forward. So I try to throw as much stuff against the wall as I can.
And that's the interesting part of dealing with humans in their natural environment. It was so interesting when I was working with Dr. David, and he would make the mistake of showing them spinning first before they had to learn NLP. And the pushback, wow, why can't we just spin it? Why do I have to learn this old technique and stuff? And I finally had to stand up one time and I said, well, if this was like a car, yes, it's nice to be able to hook up the computer, the laptop, and go in and fix something that's not working right. But there are mechanics who have the toolboxes as big as my wall back here, and they will have tools that they will probably use twice in their career. But they bought it because they knew that someday that one vehicle was going to show up, and they would be able to go into that bottom left hand drawer, pull it out, find it in the back, and be able to fix that one vehicle that can only be fixed with that one tool, because they tried all the other ones. And that is also part of learn. Get exposure. Learn from as many different teachers as possible. Learn as many different techniques as possible. Learn as many skill sets as possible. A jack of all trades, but a master of none will always be better than a master of one. One-trick ponies can really put on a good show until the show changes. And we got 20 minis left. Lenora.
So I'm asking a question for one of our lovely Triple T peeps, and they asked, does anyone know the location of the magical vault of more time? How do we expand time? How do we get more time?
Good. I want to know as well. Who's got an answer?
Watch the clock. Find a clock. If you have a clock, or if you just open Google and type analog clock with a second hand and just watch the second hand of a clock make one entire revolution of the face. It's incredibly freaking boring. It takes forever for it to go around.
Uh-huh.
Most people have no idea just how long a minute is. Because the problem is that they're not here for the whole minute. They start following every thought that comes along. I got to pick up my dry cleaning. Oh, and while I'm out there, I could do some groceries. And while I'm there, I could maybe... do you remember what so-and-so said to me? And the next thing you know, you're off on this whole train of thoughts. And how many minutes went past while you weren't here?
Yes.
Right? So the way to, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, and you don't have to agree, but the way to feel, there's two things. This is the first one. The way to feel like that there is more time is to actually be present. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's one. Secondly, this is it just came to me now. I wasn't intending to say this, but it came to me now while I was speaking. And that is that notice wherever you go, whatever you're doing, because you're present, and that's essentially the first thing I said. Notice what's new and what's different. Okay? Notice what's new, what's different. Pay attention to novelty.
Yes.
Okay? And even take steps to include novelty in your life. Like maybe something as simple as brushing your teeth with the other hand, brushing your hands with the other teeth, I was going to say, like a genius, right? Brushing your teeth with the other hand. Or, when you come out of your driveway, instead of turning left, you turn right. Are you still going to get there? You will. Even if you go the wrong way, or the quote, wrong way, right? So start introducing novelty, start paying attention to novelty, notice what's new and different. Because here's the thing, when you're a kid, everything's new.
Yes.
And because everything's new, when you sleep at night, you have a whole bunch of experiences for your brain to decode and sort through and store and learn about, right? And so by the time your birthday comes around, you feel like, whoa, it takes forever for my birthday to come around.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to our age, right, it feels like the years just kind of one mixes into the other, and God, who knew it was 2026 already? Not only that, it's freaking May, dude. We're almost halfway through 2026. God damn it. Right? How did that happen? It's because you become such a creature of habit and not pay attention to what's new and what's different that when you sleep every night, your brain has less to decode and to process and to, and so when you think back over your year, you're like, well, it was mostly the same as the year before. Right? So pay attention to what's new and different, and pay attention to novelty, and it will make you feel like more is going on. Partly because you're present and actually paying attention to it, and partly because you'll have more stuff to, on a neurological level, for your brain to sort through and learn and organize into all that data that you already have going on up in there.
Great input. Thank you. Appreciate you showing up. I really do. Mark.
Building on what Elijah said, I have broken clock. I know it's right twice a day, but try to watch that clock and imagine how long a minute actually is. And you'll find that magical vault of more time. Oh my God, it was that long, and that was only a minute. And you stare at that clock face and try to estimate how long a minute is. And like I said, our subconscious has a lousy time sense. They always say time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, because that half of your brain has a terrible sense of time. I used to have a coffee mug that said, life lasts but a moment, but meetings go on for hours and hours and hours. Because that half of our brain, like I said, when we're having fun, vacation seems like it lasts 3 days, but if you want to open up that magical vault of more time, like Elijah said, be in the moment. Like I said, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? What'd you have for breakfast yesterday? What are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow? That little exercise will put you in the moment. And then you have to enjoy the moments, because the moments are all we have.
Yes. Absolutely. Holly.
And something Elijah said made something click for me that it's literally never clicked before, and it makes so much sense. So for those who are familiar with the Kuji, one of the Kuji is ruts, which is the idea that, time is an illusion. And you can be a master of that illusion, or you could be a servant to that illusion. But every time I've used ruts to do some really crazy things in my life. Make a drive in like 2 minutes that should have taken 15 minutes, making a flight, all sorts of things that shouldn't physically be possible. But at least for me, the way it works, whenever I tap into whenever I tap into that energy, one of the first things that I kind of feel like the universe is asking me is, okay, if I give you this extra time, are you asking me to give you extra time to bail you out because you were just squandering the time you were already given and you weren't being grateful for it? Or are you actually using the time you already have wisely? And are you asking for this extra time to accomplish something meaningful that you've already done what's in your power to be responsible, basically, shall we say? Like, am I getting this extra time so that I can binge watch several TV shows? Or am I getting this extra time because maybe I'm running late to a meeting, but I come across somebody who's having a hard day that really needs me to talk to him for a few minutes? So, I think one of the keys is if you want the universe to trust you with, and this is anything, if you want the universe to trust you with more money, if the universe gives you more money, are you going to use it to hurt yourself, to hurt the people around you, to feed addictions, to just be irresponsible? Or are you already a wise steward of your money? And if the universe gives you more money, you're going to use it to bless more people's lives, to accomplish more. It's true for money, it's true for time, it's true for any resource that you could think of, energy, health, all of the above. Now, of course, recognizing maybe the universe is trying to teach you a specific lesson right now. And if it gives you more time or more money or whatever, if that's going to ruin the lesson you're supposed to be learning, I believe that's also taken into account. Anyway, with that being said, a lot of times when I look at it, I genuinely can't tell you where the extra time came from. It's a magic trick. But I have noticed there are certain things in my life that I become, the more I use ruts and the more I try to be more responsible with my time, which I'm not always perfect with it, I'll be the first to say. But when I'm doing that, I've actually been given things that I can see. So for instance, I started watching if I'm watching a YouTube video, like a lecture or something, I started watching everything at 1.1 speed. Didn't even notice a difference. And eventually I got used to that. So then I started watching everything at 1.2 speed and I just worked my way up. And now I'm at the point where most videos I watch at double speed minimum. Sometimes I even get up to triple speed. And you know what? It's the same as that used to be when I watch it at one speed, but now I can watch 3 lectures in the same amount of time. So that's kind of a way, and like I said, that's just one example, but, it's more about the universe showing me ways to be efficient. So another one would be like, and I need to learn this one better, but if you take that extra minute to clean your space in the moment, your energy is better, your time is better, your sleep is better. And then all of a sudden you can do more with the time you're given. So a lot of it is about doing more with the time you're given than actually getting more time, if that makes sense. But, like I said, ruts absolutely can give you more time. It's just about honoring the principles associated with time and what it's given for and recognizing that. And then you can tap into it and say, yep, I need time. And I swear it always works out if you're honoring the principles. But at least that's my personal experience.
Again, great stuff. And I think it was Wayne Dyer that talked about he would just set his mind into I'm going to be there on time. I'm going to make it. The universe is going to open up ways for me to guess, Holly.
I wanted to hear what you're saying. I'll just say it really fast. Also, don't forget, in a flow state, you could be up to 500% more productive. So getting into a flow state, not allowing, not checking your phone every 2 seconds, not letting people interrupt you, but having like a block of time.
Well, and now I understand with you being able to watch video stuff at 3 speed, now I understand how you can talk so fast. Because your mind can keep up with it. And Greg, you put in a comment I thought was rather cute. You want to just say it, please?
Yes. It's the time flies that come in and steal seconds and minutes from us when we're not watching, we're not paying attention. And it's on my list to design a time flies swatter. So when I'm realizing that time is going so quickly, I can get those little suckers, keep them from stealing my time.
Gotta watch out for time flies.
That's it. And I also, Holly, at times I will 1.5 or double speed certain videos. Like I'll go on YouTube and see about like how to repair a piece of stereo equipment or something. And it's especially useful when somebody's just like maybe from Minnesota and they talk really slow. And and
I remember
I
that.
speed up, and after a while it sounds like it's not fast.
Yeah.
And I tend to make it as fast as I can still understand what they're saying, and I may have to pause or slow it down if it gets technical, but I do also find that very useful. And you're correct that people say, I don't have enough time. You don't have enough time. There's a lot of hours and minutes in the day. There really are. It's if you can find efficient ways to use those minutes, and an appreciation that you have, I don't want to say unlimited time, but you have lots and lots of time. And also like forget that time even exists. That's a man-made construct anyway, right? We have this delusion that because of these cyclical things that are going on around us, like, there is spinning and there's morning, afternoon, and nighttime, etc. And it seems like the time is actually going, but it's not. So I try to like live outside of that. I mean, I use it for making appointments and having customers come and that kind of thing, but I tend not to pay too much attention to the time thing, and paying attention to living efficiently and using the time efficiently and getting into that flow state. I call it my timeless place when I'm here in my workshop or whatever. I try to make things more of a meditation and really like slow down and really pay close attention to what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, how I'm applying myself, how my brain is figuring things out. excuse me, as I go, and I tend to be. I have times that man, it's like I feel like I've done the work of 2 or 3 people at the end of the day. High productivity, and I didn't stress about it. It just kind of happened because I was enjoying myself and I was in that big, long, endless moment, not expecting any particular immediate result, knowing that there's going to be a good result and it may be challenging along the way. And that's part of like, okay, I'm going to embrace even the challenges because I'm going to expand my what I know, my abilities. I'm going to learn something new at the same time. So yeah, efficient use of time and a sincere appreciation that we get to do things. We don't have to do anything. We get to do everything. Yeah.
Holly.
I keep jumping in. Everybody's saying stuff that's popping stuff in my head. Also, another thing to think about is sometimes the universe's timing is better than our timing. So there have been times that, like, for instance, there was one day I was really stressed because I was so late to work. And then it turned out that it was snowing, and in the morning I was the only person in my department for several hours. And I needed to do that because I needed to flex to cover my time. But it ended up working out. It ended up being better for everybody that I was late. So sometimes what you think is the best timing isn't necessarily the best timing.
I agree 100%. I trust the universe now. I was busy earlier and I had a customer that was coming and I was like kind of hoping he wasn't going to be on time and he'd be late. And I just like let it go and it's going to be perfect. Like the universe has all those details figured out for my greater good, the everybody involved, the customer who's coming, whoever. It's like it's all going to work out perfectly, and it did. It worked out perfectly, and I didn't stress about it. And it's so nice to live that way when you just kind of watch your initial reactivity or reactions, right? Usually based on old habits, old conditioning, right? You watch and go, no, I can choose not to freak out and not to, and let it happen as it happens. And people understand, if you're a little bit late or whatever. It's like we're all the same. We all are late sometimes. We're all early other times. But just get into that flow state, the vortex, as Abraham Hicks would say. Yeah, good place to live.
Yep. More great stuff. And to finish out the show, Mark's got his hand up. What you got, Mark?
Just philosopher once said you can experience an entire eternity in a single moment. And I guess to unlock the magical vault of more time is to enjoy the moments, savor the moments, and experience the moments. And, because like I said, if you can experience an entire eternity within a single moment, like this philosopher said, time is irrelevant.
And perfect way to end it. How many times have you guys heard me say this show is proof that time is very flexible, because 2 hours goes by just like that. I mean, it starts out and I'm all concerned. Oh, am I going to have? Are my topics good enough? Am I going to have enough stuff? We're going to have enough material to fill up 2 hours, and all of a sudden, boop, it's over. But then I also joke, if you want to see how long a minute is, do a plank. Do one for 3 minutes. Oh my goodness! Then time, you look at that clock and you're like, did it stop? Really? Are the batteries good in that dang thing? And so it's all relative.
Yep.
again, I want to thank you guys for showing up, for investing your time here on this platform, not for me, but I hope you all get something good out of this, that you learn something, you get an aha, get an epiphany, and you guys certainly bring stuff here to the plate that I don't have. That's why I love having you here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I've said it so many times now. We're on number 228. So I know I've said it at least 200 times. As soon as I figure out how to reproduce time and give it back to you, you'll be the second to know.
I cracked that one, TJ. If you want to know, shout me.
What?
Because actually, you're the one who's going to be second to know, because I already know.
Yeah. See?
And second has nothing to do with time, does it?
No.
Wait a minute. Was that a pun?
Bop.
Delivered right on the hour. Just
Hold on a second.
So again, I love you guys. Every one of you. Thank you for showing up and making this possible. I hope that you all go out and have an absolutely amazing week. Live full throttle. Write your movies. Make sure that the ending is as good as possible. And if you don't like how the plot is going, change it. Write a better one. If you need help, reach out to any of us. We'd love to help you.
And they all lived happily ever after to the end of their day.
Yes. And to everybody in YouTube land, I get to say, love you, Mom. And all the rest of you. So hope to see your smiling faces back here in 7 days. Till then, bye.